Hi, this is our first video on using Access. I'm really aware that most of you folks are really new to Access if you've ever used it at all. Just a few things that I got to tell you is Access is probably the most difficult um, concept that we have to understand in this class. Just because you haven't had a whole lot of exposure to Access. You probably messed around with Word, and you probably used PowerPoint. PowerPoint's pretty easy. Excel, maybe not so much, but you know you've at least seen it before. Access you may not have. So we're going to discuss what Access is and how we're going to use it for the purposes of this class. Now, probably of everything that I'm teaching in this class, Access is the hardest. And as difficult as it is, we're barely scratching the surface of what Access can do. Access can get really, really deep. And I could easily spend an entire semester talking about Access. We're not going to go there. We're going to get very, very basic on this thing. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you this now, there's 4 things that you need to know how to do to survive this thing. If you can get these 4 things down pat, you should do okay as far as Access goes. We're going to create 4 things. We're going to create tables. We're going to create forms. We're going to create queries and reports. Those 4 things: tables, forms, queries, and reports. If you can do those, you should be okay. Now, what these are, tables are a big, huge pack of information. Just think of it as a Excel spreadsheet on steroids. It contains all of the information about everything. So I'll give you an example. You go to your bank. Now, the bank services probably thousands of customers. So somehow the bank needs to be able to pull your information out and not anybody else's. They want to know how much money you have in your account, what checks you've written have cleared. They're interested in stuff that's specific to you when you go up to the counter and start asking them. So you know they may ask for your ID or your account information, and if they'll pull it up on the screen, and then they can see what's going on with your account. All right. So behind the scenes, there's this big, huge table of information that contains info about every single customer that bank has. What their account number is, what their address is, what their phone number is, what their name is, what their email address is, how much money they have in checking, how much money they have in savings, how much money they have in this account, how much money they owe on their cars. All of that stuff is contained in these tables. And these tables contain this same information about every single customer that's at this bank. Now, when you walk in and you just go to the counter, you want to be able to just look at the information that's available to you. You don't need to see anybody else's stuff. We don't want you to be able to see anybody else's stuff. When you go to your counter and they ask you for your account number, they're going to pull up your information and tell you things that are going on with your account, no one else's. So that's that's a table. And then think about what we just did. We went to the counter, we gave them our account number so that they accessed the bank's tables. We gave them your account number, they punched that in, now they're querying the table. So they're asking the database a question. Hey, what is the information you can show me about account number 12345? Pulls up that information. So that was a query. You started asking that database a question, and it pulled up information about your specific account. And it probably shows you that in a report somewhere. So we're going to create these 4 things: tables, forms, queries, and reports. Now, everything that we deal with, you know, a PowerPoint, Excel, Word, all these applications, you will deal with a database more than anything else in the world. because you just use them so often, all the time. When you go into the computer, when you go into the classroom and you log onto the computer, you're hitting a database. It asks you for your username and your ID, or your ID and your password. It'll ask you for those two things. You're querying the school's database and saying, hey, does this person have a right to be on, have an account, or is qualified to be on these computers? If it's good and you give the proper information, your proper ID, proper password, it's going to let you in because you said, the database says you're good to go. If not, it won't let you in. So I'm going to show you an example of a database that you've seen and you may not have realized what it is, but it is a database. This is Access, but I'm going to go to something a little bit easier. So let's slide this in. Our good buddy Amazon. So, of all of the retailers in the world, Amazon is by far the biggest. Way, way, way bigger than even Walmart. I mean, it is just monstrously, just unbelievably huge. So think about a store that is as big as Amazon is. Just think about it as like a brick and mortar store. And like I said, this is many, many times bigger than Walmart. So, and as confusing as Walmart, walking into a super Walmart and trying to find what you're looking for, imagine how hard it would be for something as big as Amazon. Well, we don't have to do that because Amazon is actually a database, first and foremost. It's a store, but it's a store that actually works as being a database. So the way we find stuff on Amazon, and let's just say I'm interested in a chair. So I'm going to type in, up here, and I'm going to look for chairs. Now, Amazon sells hundreds of millions of items. Not just thousands, but hundreds of millions of items. So I'm going to type in chair. Whoops, if I spell it right, not chait. There we go. So, like I said, they sell over hundreds of millions of items, but look at what we've got here. It's showing 1 through 48 of over 200,000 results for just chair. So we've gone from hundreds of millions of things to something over 200,000. I don't know what that really means. It used to actually give you a number, but I guess now they just say, hey, it's over a bunch. So we've gone through this thing, and it's look for anything in Amazon's database that says chair. And this, think about this as a report. So it's showing me all the chairs. Think about this where I type this in as a form. So we have a database. We have a form that I just typed in chair. And a form is like any kind of online form where you just fill in the blank. So that's what we're going to think about as a form. And it queried the database. So it asked the database a question. Say, hey, what do you have in the database that's is any relation to a chair? And it came back with over 200,000 things, and it shows me in this version, which we'll say is Amazon's version of a report. So let's get a little bit more specific. So we're not just looking for a chair, but we're looking for a office chair. So now we've gone from hundreds of millions of things down to 200,000 things, but now we're still over 2,000 in the chair department. That's a pretty big chair department, again, if you're thinking about a brick and mortar store. So we're still trying to find this thing, we're still trying to get a little bit more specific. So let's just say I'm interested in a leather office chair. So now I'm down to 417. Hundreds of millions, over 200,000, down to over 2,000. Now we're getting a little bit more specific. I'm down to 417. So what I'm doing when I'm checking these boxes is I'm zeroing in on the database. I'm asking specific questions. I'm querying the database a little bit more precisely. What chairs do you have that are office chairs that are leather? So now it's got to meet those three check boxes, and it gives me 417 results. Let's just say that I want a good chair, so I want one that's got 4 stars and above. So I click on that. And now we're down to 100. And let's just say that, I don't want to spend too much money. I'm going to say $50 to $100. 36. So I have a database that was hundreds of millions of items. And then I start querying that database saying, hey, show me chairs that are office chairs that are made out of leather, that are good chairs, people will give them 4 stars and above, but are cheap chairs, somewhere between 50 and $100. And these are the results that I get. I'm down to 36. Now this is something manageable that I could chop through and find a chair that I really, really like. So we've actually used all 4 of the things. So we have the table, which is Amazon's inventory contained in this big, huge electronic database that just contains information about all of the items that Amazon sells. And I can ask specific questions and say, hey, show me specific things that I'm looking for. So the first thing that I'm looking for is, I'm going to start querying the database. I'm going to say, hey, show me office chairs that are made out of leather that have 4 stars that are between 50 and $100. So then I queried the database. And what it is, I put that in this form, chair, and we got different ways that we can use this form, because we got these little checkboxes that we can do. And so now I've started using this form to query the database, and then it shows me what I'm getting as a result of a form. So that's in essence the way that a database works. Now, this is what's going on with Amazon. Now, what we've done with Amazon, you can change this to banks. You can take this to, or you can use the same philosophy when you go to get your car tags done at the DMV. So when you go in there, just like they ask you for your social security number, your driver's license number, or whatever it is that they ask for that specific thing, and they'll be able to pull your file and show you exactly what you do. Like I said, you do this hundreds and hundreds of times. All the time. You do this all the time. I mean, throughout your daily life. Just think about that. All right, so that's kind of in essence what a database is. The next video I'm going to show you is going to kind of give you a little information about how to build a table. So, and by a table, it's like there's somewhere in the back of Amazon, they have this table that shows all of this information about this chair. I mean, it's going to, if I click on it and say, okay, this is the name of the chair, this is the model number of the chair, this is like a customer review. So it's like somewhere in this is a table that shows all of this information. When we come back, the next video I'm going to show you is how to create a table. We're going to create a very, very simple, basic table. And we'll go from there. So see you next video.